Hey everybody, I'm David with Bolivar Live, and once again we're here with Chandra, and today we have Andy, and we're going to talk about development on Bolivar Peninsula. And everyone thinks that you can buy a piece of property and divide it up, throw in a entrance to it, and sell properly and make millions, but you can't. And we've seen, especially over here, we've got some property that was divided before, I think it's 83 or 87 or something, that can be TWIA insured. And then we have what's called COBRA property over here. And if you have COBRA property, it can make a big difference on home sales and stuff. And so we're going to talk with Chandra and Andy today about developing over here and some of the steps that developers can take, and it may save them a lot of money in the long run. Because the last thing you want is to get a piece of property thinking you can put 75 or 100 lots on it, and then you can only get 35 because you want to be on septic, or get 50 because some of it's wetlands. And so, Andy, Chandra, it's different over here developing on Bolivar. There's a big difference compared to like Houston and that. Let's look at, I'm going out and I found a piece of property, but it backs up, either to the beach or the intercoastal. And some of it's got some title on it. What can y'all do first to look at the property to see, you met with me and I found this property and I want to put 100 lots on it or 75 lots on it. Can y'all come in before the property is ever purchased and look at it and tell me, well, we think you can probably get this out, but this on this map, it's showing this back here is probably wetlands, so we can't use it. What can y'all do before the property is ever purchased to maybe save them some money in the long run?
So, great question. We provide a service prior to any real design, a feasibility study of the property for a fee, naturally. Part of that service is to go through and look at a lot of readily available, publicly accessible maps to see, all right, is there a chance before we ever even have to put eyes on the property, is there a chance that there might be some jurisdictional wetlands that is going to require permitting through the Corps of Engineers? Because we know from past experience, any permitting through the Corps of Engineers is going to take anywhere from 1 to 4 years just to get it approved because of all the bureaucratic processes. Are there pipelines or well easements or anything else that's going to restrict the use of the property? Are there recorded easements or subdivided plats that are coming out of this property that you think you're just getting this giant open canvas that you get to work with, but in truth it's actually encumbered by a lot of different things. All of these different maps and data really kind of help to say, hey, this property is not as golden an opportunity as you really think it is. So we look at all of those different things. The biggest benefit to trying to develop on Bolivar versus trying to develop, say, in city of Houston or League City, Tech City, any of the Beaumont, any of the other metropolitan areas around, is you don't have to worry about zoning requirements. Where they're going to say you have to do lots that are this size minimum because that's what we've decided it needs to be.
Right.
The county can't really enforce zoning requirements. They can, however, require that the lots be sized in such a way that it meets their general standards, and those standards have to be tailored to the general well-being and health and whatnot. So if you have access to public water, public sewer, any of that stuff, something else that we try to check in during our feasibility study is how are you going to get your water? How are you going to relieve your sanitary? if you have to do public or private. And another beneficial thing for Bolivar or Galveston County in general is not too long ago, our wonderful governor had some legislation approved that says that properties in Galveston County no longer have to meet the minimum lot area requirement for a private septic system to be placed on there. Used to be 1 acre minimum lot sizes if you're going to do private septic and your private well. If you had access to public water, but not public sewer, then you'd have a 1/2 acre minimum lot size. Due to that legislation, now you can do a smaller lot size, but the requirement is that you still have a septic system that's designed correctly for whatever you plan on putting on that property. Right. So people might say, oh, I can break this down to a 5,000 square foot lot and just put a bunch of these, put 75, 100 on this piece of land that I got. Well, not necessarily. If you're going to be doing the private sanitary option, those lots have to be sized so that you can fit those septic systems on.
Right.
They can't be under the house. They can't be, in the setback. So you've got to basically have enough room, not only for the septic, but any of the drain fields, that have to be put out there. So it takes up a lot of room, like I think we figured out really quick that a lot of the easy land has already been developed in Bolivar. So we're looking at the hard stuff now. Yeah. It's not, you've got issues with, the Corps of Engineers, TxDOT, TCEQ, BPSUD, County of Galveston. You've got private development restrictions. You've got pipeline easements. You have so many wetlands. You have so many things that you're looking at. The average person, even the average developer, probably doesn't know everything to consider and everything that's going to be causing a conflict in order to develop that property. And a lot of these items can be remediated. But it's better to know up front whether or not you can get out of that lot and develop it the way that's going to make you money versus waiting until you're 2-3 years down the line and you realize, oh, wow, I thought I was going to get 100 lots out of this piece of property that I spent X dollars on. And now I'm only going to get 55.
Right.
And I can't sell it for a price that's going to really recoup all my money and or make me money. So it does make a big difference to have feasibility done up front, because then all the entities that are involved, everyone that you have to satisfy, and what maybe that overall timeline would look like to get it developed, because everybody kind of has their own processing timeline. And a lot of them are interdependent. You'll submit to one entity, and once you get their approval, you submit to the next entity. So it's not like you can submit them simultaneously and get everybody's feedback. You kind of have to do, in stages. So it really prolongs that process quite a bit.
So if I'm going to develop property, the best thing, and I've been down here 30 or 40 years, a lot of things have changed over the years, and a feasibility may cost you a little bit up front before you ever buy the property, but it could save you hundreds of thousands of dollars in the long run.
That's right.
Having this done so that you know exactly what you're walking into, because a lot of times they've got investors or stuff, and the last thing you want is and have a bunch of investors. And so this is actually,
if they're not prepared to carry that property undeveloped for 2 to 4 years,
right,
I would say don't do it, because there's a lot that goes into it before they've moved the first piece of dirt on that property to start developing. And a lot of our clients get really aggravated and really frustrated, and we're like, look, we told you this was going to be a 2 or 3 year process, because we know all the entities involved, and they're feeling all this pressure, from their investors, or they're feeling financial pressure, and they just want it done, and they just feel like it should be like, well, snap of the finger, it should be done. And it's just not. And so being prepared to endure that process is part of the development, but it's a risk reward. You spend the time, and you put in the time to take that risk and work with somebody that has experience. Like, Andy and I, that we can develop these properties
Right.
and get them what they want out of it, there will be a reward at the end, as long as you do it the right way. So,
well, this is going to be a 2-part series here, because we all like to talk, and there's a lot of information, and so we're going to close down this one. But on the next one, next week, we're actually going to talk about, I've purchased the land. Everything went good on the feasibility study, or we figured out how to cross the hurdles. It's now time to develop, but we've got to design it first. We've got to move water, and we want some amenities on the property. And so we're going to talk on the next show about the process now to lay it out, design it, and set the first piling in it over here, what that looks like down the road. So, y'all, thanks for joining us. We're going to head on out until next week with Chandra and Andy. I'm David with Bolivar Live. Y'all have a great day, great week. Come see us. God bless, and bye-bye.
Video equipment is sponsored by Crystal Beach Decor and More, located at 1959 Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas, and Beachy Beatnik Boutique and Jewelry, located at 970 Surfside and Highway 87 in Crystal Beach, Texas. Thank you to these two businesses for being our 2025 video equipment sponsor for Bolivar Live.